City, that's kind of Friday. That's busy.
You may not be able to see. But what I want to point out is that yeah, that's okay. Just leave it.
I can guess, yeah. Go.
Okay, that's it. Okay, so the next point I was going to make then was after you made the diagnosis of heart disease, how do you manage it? There's about 4 or 5 ways that we can manage heart disease. And like I said earlier, the first thing you want to do is you want to avoid having heart disease. You do that by doing all the sensible things, and I'll give you a list of those afterwards. Did we pass out the little bookmarks? Yeah. Okay, good. So that will point out some of the things we need to be concerned about. Okay, so lifestyle changes and adjustments. How much does that cost? Free, yes. And what does free mean? How much free cost? Nothing. Yes, nothing. Go over here, nothing. That's what free costs. Okay? That is actually more effective than any of the stuff that we do. Okay? Y'all understand what I'm saying here? Yeah. If you follow the right lifestyle, exercise, the right diet, the right medications if you have a problem, because some things you ain't got no control over, right? That is much more effective than going on to medical therapy, interventional therapy. And interventional therapy is if the medications don't work, your doctors put you on medicine for your diabetes, your high blood pressure, your obesity, etc., and you still end up with heart disease, okay, then sometimes we have to intervene and we will do things. You've heard of angioplasty and stenting, where we put the catheter up your groin, up into the blood vessel, up into the heart, blow up the balloon to open up the blockage. Everybody's heard of that, yes? That's angioplasty. So let's look at it this way. If you look at lifestyle changes and adjustments, it's free. When you look at medical therapy, having to pay for medications, anybody in here have high blood pressure and sugar?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
At least two people in here, right? And when you go, how much money does it cost you on average per month for your medications? Too much? Yes, and that usually amounts to a couple $100, yes? All right. So I have described that medical therapy as clothes money. You could go out and buy yourself a nice dress, okay? That's your clothes money. $300, $400, if you look real bad, $500, $600 a month is what some people pay, because they got arthritis too, along with, you understand? And they got to be able to walk, so they got to take their pain medicine, and some of them expensive, yes? In fact, my son Corey had to overdo it. He was on a medicine that cost $5,000 a month. I shouldn't talk your business. Some funny arthritis. But if you have a problem, your medications could be inordinately expensive. All right? But I still call that clothes money because it depends on where you shop for your clothes. If you now decide that you need angioplasty, well, you're just spending $25,000 to $30,000. What do we call that? Car money. And I ain't talking about buying gas either. I'm talking about buying the car. God help you if you need open heart surgery. Because what you're paying for that?
House money.
House money. $70,000, $100,000, and depending on what you need, we had one patient a couple of weeks ago that we had to send to the U.S. because I told my doctors here we ain't touching this patient. Okay? You have to understand that you can't die in the Bahamas, right? If you got a sick patient and they die in the Bahamas, the general story, and remember Father Brown used to preach about this, he said, I ain't gonna let them kill me in Nassau, I ain't going to the States for them to kill me. You remember him saying that? If you die in the Bahamas, it's because the doctors here didn't know what they were doing. If you die in the States, it's because, boy, she was sick, eh? But you're never that sick in the Bahamas, okay? So it's just that the guys here messed up. So when you have to get open heart surgery, we call that house money. Now, when the fella say, you know what, Mrs. Jones, it's really too late for us to operate. We don't really have any medicines that are going to do anything for you, so we'll just try and keep you comfortable. Then that's called too late money. You understand? That's called palliative care. And of course, supportive care is really just keeping you comfortable, waiting for the good Lord to call you home. All right? And that's what some people might be satisfied with. So you really don't want to spend your money the wrong way. So sometimes we suggest that you can come and you can be seen in consultation, which is relatively inexpensive, $50, $100, $200, or you could wait till we get to put you into the cath lab where they're going to be putting that tube up in your artery and opening balloons and open heart surgery, and it could then be car or house money. All right, the choice is yours. This slide was meant to show that if you have symptoms of heart disease, if you feel you're having what looks like or sounds like a heart attack, you're breaking out into a sweat, you feel like your chest is going to explode, you're having difficulty breathing, you feel faint, like you're going to black out, that ain't the time to do what Bahamians always do. They say, I was waiting to see if it was going to pass. And the only thing would just pass is them. Okay, so that's when you dial 911, that's what the phone for, 911. I remember I got robbed in Richmond, what the place is? Sans Souci. I got robbed at gunpoint in Sans Souci. And this is when the phone emergency was what? 919? Yeah, well, so I tell my wife, I said, call the police because I just got robbed. She said, foolishness. So I said, well, look at my clothes. I got on my favorite suit and it wet up. You think I was going to lay down on the ground? She said, oh, Lord. Then she started to scream. I said, what are you screaming for? Go call the police. So she goes, 911, no answer. 912, they tell you the time. 913, they tell you what tide, how tide high or tide low. 914, the weather. And listen, we hear everything. We eventually reached 919. And they said, police, emergency? So at least know the number, folks. Anyhow, since then, they've now changed it. So you could call 911 or 919 and you'll get emergency. The point is, don't drive yourself to the hospital, okay? That's dangerous. So you call the ambulance, you get to the emergency room, they should make a quick evaluation, and if we're smart, we actually make that evaluation before you get to the hospital. That's called pre-hospital care, and there are certain things that we can do that increase people's chances of living through a heart attack, okay? And then if you get care like the Prime Minister, we take you to the cath lab and just open the blood vessel. So, how are families affected by heart disease? Well, remember what we said about your health. That your health has several components: the spiritual component, social, physical and mental, as well as financial. Well, I think we could all figure this out now. Because two of my friends, their families are now in dire spiritual straits. Because they're asking the question, why? Yes, happens all the time. And those of us with good faith say, don't bother ask why. Sometimes that's more difficult to do than it is to say. So it affects us all spiritually. It affects us socially. Families sometimes disintegrate. A lot of families come closer together when somebody dies from something like heart attacks or heart disease, and a lot of them fragment and go further apart. I always like, if I have anything to do with my family, make sure that is not a time for fragmentation. Okay? The physical and the mental are fairly straightforward, and we've discussed house money and car money, so we know about the financial side. So for a happy heart, here's what you guys need to do. You need to educate yourself. That's what you're doing now. You need to make it a point to educate yourself further when you leave here, not only tonight, but forever and ever. Amen. Okay? And until amen reach, keep educating yourself and then keep living by what you've educated yourself to be the right and sensible thing to do. That is the least expensive, it is the most effective, and it is the smartest and common sense thing to do. Do we do it routinely? Hell no. But we need to try. Okay? Stop smoking if you smoke. Again, not a big problem in the Bahamas. The only people who smoke in the Bahamas are those who've been to the States or England. But other than that, and those who watch those who've been and won't follow fashion, or what you always call it, copycatting. All right? Lose weight towards your ideal. All right? You have to defluff a little. And in some cases, a lot. It depends on whether you are pleasantly plump or beyond pleasantly plump. But you need to, the more weight we have, the harder the heart has to work, and the more we block our blood vessels. Okay? You want to eat less animal fat and less cholesterol. So the typical diet you want is a low fat, low salt, low cholesterol, low calorie diet. The people who live the longest are the people who eat the least amount of food. Now go figure. But that's what it is. And if anybody has seen somebody who's 100 years old, tell me one of them who was fat. Huh? You don't see it. You just don't see it. Now maybe it's because the fat ones died off before they reach 100, but the people who hit 90 plus tend not to be overweight. And they tend not to eat like there's no tomorrow. Okay? So the more calories we take in, the greater the chances of us not doing well. As counterintuitive as that sounds, okay? You want to control your blood sugar and your blood pressure, particularly if you have high blood pressure, and if you're diabetic, it's a given that you got to control your sugar. Stress and relaxation, yeah, we talk about that. That's a lot easier to talk about than it is to do, but you got to aim to do it, because stress by itself will put you in the grave. Okay? You want to exercise regularly. If you go every day, that ain't going to hurt nobody. Now, if you do some stupid things, yes. But in general, if you exercise 5 times a week, 60 minutes, okay, that's fantastic. You can't do 60 minutes, do half hour. You can't do half hour, do 15 minutes, but do something. Now, even my daughter was telling me today, we were just on our way back from Antigua, and she said, you know, because she went to the gym. Of course, I was in the hotel room working. She went to the gym. She come back half hour later. I said, excuse me, where you been? She said, it's not how long you go, you know. But you got to go. And I'm supposed to be the doctor, and she's supposed to be the doctor in training. Follow your doctor's advice, and make sure you're using the right doctor. If you're going for your heart, don't go to your gynecologist, because they work in 2 different areas of the body. Some of us don't know this. Some of us make the wrong connections. That's what we're supposed to do. So if you're thinking heart, well, if you're thinking heart, you don't even go to your GP. If you're thinking general, you go to your GP. That's what they're called, general practitioners. And then you tell them, I am concerned about my heart, and have them refer you accordingly. And remember, prevention is much better than cure. And so, for good health, I want you to know your numbers. Now, we've given you a little bookmark that you can't see in here tonight anyhow. Take it home, look at it, but I'll run through it very quickly for you. You want to be at your ideal height and weight. Now, you can't change your height, so what you need to do is fix your weight. All right? And we got some people who try to fix their height too, but high heel shoes don't change that, okay? So in general, what we find is that folks tend to be too short for their weight. Okay? Now, if you're too short for your weight, I suggest you get your weight down, because you can't always get your height up. Not true? Okay. Then, for your blood pressure, you'd like your blood pressure to be textbook numbers, 120 over 80 or less. There's no such thing as low blood pressure, which is something only the Bahamas have. You ever hear people say, my doctor say, I suffer from low blood? There's no such thing. Your blood pressure is either adequate, so that when you get up to walk around, you don't get dizzy, or your blood pressure is too low, so that when you get up to walk around, you feel like you're going to fall down, or your blood pressure is too high, and it's over 140 over 90. And you don't have to feel that anyhow. So don't wait till you feel dizzy, okay? And don't wait till you feel it in the back of your neck either, all right? So you want your pressure in the 120-80 range, and the lower, the better. The people that live the longest are those that have the lowest heartbeat and the lowest heart rates. As long as your heart rate ain't too low. Because if it's too low, you can't stand up, and you're blacking out. All right? But you want your heart rate to be less than 70 or less. You don't want it running 90 and 100. That's not good. Okay? Your cholesterol, we know you have the good guys. You want that to be as high as possible. In men, you want it over 40, and women over 50. You want your LDL cholesterol, the bad boys, you want that one to be as low as possible, because that, if you don't have the low cholesterol, if you don't have the bad cholesterol, the LDL, it's hard to have it block your vessels, because there just ain't enough of it. Okay, so that's why you want to keep that one down. Let's go to PSA for men, and if the women have an elevated PSA, then they really got a problem. But the PSA is for your prostate. So generally, that's a problem for the men, and you want it to be less than 4. Okay, and that's just from general health perspective, nothing to do with your heart. Your coronary calcium score, you want it to be less than 10. Mine is about 300, which is much too high. So it means that I actually have coronary artery disease, even though I don't have symptoms. So I'm on medication to elevate my good cholesterol, which is genetically too low, which is why I block my vessels without having diabetes, no sugar, don't smoke. Okay? But I still have blockages in my vessels. And there I was telling everybody about what to do and what not to do, not realizing that my good cholesterol had plummeted. Maybe it was from some stress, but we ain't going there. So the last set of numbers that you need to know on your paper are 911. Don't be like me and my wife. Had to reach all the way to 919 before we got the police. Okay, 911. And then you have the easy number, 356-6666. My ma don't like it. She always tell me about this devil business. I tell her no. Devil is 3 6s, and we're 5. So that man don't mess with us. We protect it. Okay? And then, of course, you want to know your doctor's number. All right? So, I will stop there for now, and I will simply say that in spite of all the efforts that we have, again, I want to tell Father Hutch, thanks for this idea. I'm even going to try to attend the other lectures that are going to be coming up, because we can always learn. Okay? Heart disease, ladies and gentlemen, is truly a family affair. It can affect everyone in our family, and if it doesn't affect us as the patient, it will affect us as the relative or the friend. Okay? Education leads to knowledge. Self-effort and support leads to good health. Okay? And when them don't work, then we shall overcome. And we can overcome all things through Christ, who gives us the strength and the victory over all things on earth. And so I want to wish to you all pleasant and persistent heartbeats. To you all. Thank you for your attention, and God bless.